right, Sarah Moya, my longtime friend, black belt, my longtime student. So proud to have you here with me, sitting down with you, get to do podcasts with you, talk history. First, I mean, you would have been one of the first female non-Brazilian black belts, for sure. You know, you started training when 1990,
late 99.
99, and Pan Am, IBJJF Pan Am Champion. And back in your day, the worlds were always in Brazil, so you never got to go to Brazil, right?
Nope. It's on my bucket list.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll figure it out. and then you first female to fight in New Mexico, right? Before the Holly Holmes and the Watersons and all that, right? Yeah, all the before they started fighting, right before, when it was like so underground, right? Everything.
It was the wild, wild west. Yeah, it was. I believe I was the first female. Well, my opponent and I were the first females to fight in a cage. King of the cage.
King of the cage.
Back in the day, you in my corner.
Yeah, you got to fight in Japan. Yeah, got to fight in Japan too, right?
Yeah, I did. Those were wild days.
Fight internationally too, right?
Well, and it was so interesting. Like, now I was thinking about that the other day, looking back at it, like, that was wild, right? Because that was my very first pro fight, and I was the main event. And you had, you didn't, but the thing was you knew how to coach so well, because you didn't tell me any of that, because I think you knew that I'd be so nervous.
Yeah.
And, they didn't send my gloves, so I didn't have anything to practice in. We were thinking it was like the Smack Girl rules back in the day.
Smack Girl was the name of the event,
yep.
Yeah.
So it was 3 minutes. It was 2 minutes standing, 30 seconds on the ground.
Which wasn't good for a jiu-jitsu person, right?
No.
That was what you did.
No, but it was wild.
But they set it up that way on purpose, yeah. Whatever, it was experience. You got to go to Japan, pay trip, right?
Yeah. And we were out there for the Pride.
Where was it at? Osaka?
It was in Osaka, and then we flew, so I did the fight. Main event, had no idea it was the main event until I stepped in the ring to get introduced. And they, I didn't speak Japanese. They pushed me up to the front. And then I realized, I look across at my opponent. I was like, what? And you probably knew all this, sitting there like,
whatever, it's another fight.
It was
great.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. But I love that drive.
Yeah.
Like, I've always loved being around you and people like you that just are driven no matter what. You know what I mean? Because normally, like, normal people don't do that. And it's just like, it takes those people to push you out of your comfort zone, get you out of like your little life, your little shell, to be like, no, the world really is your oyster.
You fought in Japan, right? Did you ever go out of the country before that?
Just Mexico a few times to party, nothing no. I'm a New Mexico small town girl. But and so from Osaka we flew to Tokyo, and that's where we saw the Grand Prix Pride fighting. It was incredible.
Crazy, right?
Oh, it was such a good experience.
What was the name of the big arena, right? The big arena was quiet. There was like, how many people were there? 50,000 people? 50,000 people.
Yeah. You could hear pin drop. People were so respectful. They knew what was going on the ground. They would cheer, but it was just like you could hear. No one was booing. It was so different. It was the one where Quentin Jackson picked up Ricardo Arona, slammed him, and then we met Ricardo Arona. Yeah,
in the airport, looking pissed. Yeah,
so bruised up. We're like, yeah.
Ricardo Arona got Quentin Jackson in a triangle. Quentin Jackson picked him up over his head and slammed him down. Oof. And knocked him out. Yeah, and then knocked him out and hit him to finish it off.
Yeah. Oh, it was
Pride rules, right?
Oh man.
You could hit on the ground. You could do whatever.
I love it. That was so fun, just being in the audience. Like, it was such a spectacle.
Takahiro took care of us, right?
Oh,
the reversal guy, the Isami. Yeah.
Do you still keep in touch with him?
It sucks because those days I was going to Japan. I went like a bunch of times, right? Those years, but after that I kind of, after we had kids and everything, got disconnected. But
dang, those are fun days.
Yeah,
it was just fun. Like, back then there wasn't a lot of women competing or fighting. You didn't make money doing jiu-jitsu at all, and it was just like, I did it because I loved it. I loved that push. I loved there was no really training camps. It was like we would just train really hard with each other, mostly guys, right? It was you and CJ. Me and CJ.
There was no girls. Yeah. That's why I'm like, oh man, I messed up like before I moved out, like, because you guys would have been, you guys were one of the first females.
Yeah.
Right. Serious, like, competitors and like anywhere, right? In the US.
Yeah. And it was just fun. Like
CJ won the Worlds because she went to Brazil and won the World Championship. You won the Pans,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody did anything on you. in those
No,
days.
yeah. It was just, and I just felt like it was the one thing that I knew I was good at, you know, like I kind of was just, you know, I was a kid and I was just growing up in New Mexico. It's a small town, you know, you
Yeah.
just kind of either get in trouble or you go one way or the other. And I found you and I found that and I just like fell in love with it so quick. And it was just like, oh, okay, I'm good at something. I'm good at this. And I just kind of just kept going, just rolling with it. And hung out with you and all the old school guys, you know, took me all these, you know, like local trips. We go to Arizona, but we had to travel to compete anywhere, right? Like you couldn't.
In those days, yeah.
There was no tournaments in New Mexico. We'd go to California, we'd go to Arizona, we'd go to Vegas for Grappler's Quest every year. So fun.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I feel like almost everybody competed in the gym at that time, right?
Oh yeah, because it was addicting.
Yeah.
I think it was addicting.
Well, just it was how it was. It was like kind of like Fight Club days in those days.
Yeah.
So it was like that's what you know. So you competed, or even if you weren't a competitor, you competed.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You just got out
like
there.
I think of like a Cliff Voss, you know, who was like a total professional, but because of how everybody was, it just made you rise up to
Yeah.
that level.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, exactly. You rose up, and you because you're around those people that are really competitive and pushing. You're like, I want to do that too. Like,
Yeah.
I got to get out there. My buddy's doing it. I got to go. And yeah, it was a very special time for sure. I get to see some people here and there. You know, everyone has families
Yeah,
now and
yeah.
doing their thing. But I'm like, man, every once in a while, I'll be like, I wonder what happened to Jason
Cordova.
Cordova. Yeah,
boxing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or just those people that just really were there all the time, where you're just main training partners that you're sweating and bleeding with and getting beat up and beating up. Like, yeah, it's just there's just a bond like no other for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You grew up in Santa Fe.
I grew up in Santa Fe.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. Well, I lived in a small town in Madrid, New
Oh,
Mexico.
okay.
So I grew up like from about age 3 to age 12. I lived in Madrid, and so back then, you know, my mom was like total hippie. You know, we had no running water. We had an outhouse, so we were raised like literally off the land. You know, she planted tomatoes and all that stuff. But by the time I, you know, was like 11, 12, I was like, I want to go to the city. So I moved to Santa Fe with my grandma, and then went to school there and got in trouble here and there. Kind of didn't have like the best home life. It was kind of wild because my stepdad was a pretty bad alcoholic, and so we had to kind of leave town, like literally like flee from the town we were in to go stay at my grandma's because it got wild. And it was just like I look back at it now. I was like, my life was pretty like chaotic in some ways. And you know, living with my grandma, she was my support. That's why my name is Moya now, because I wanted to do something to honor her. Like I have my Lucy tattoo that I got after she passed away. But yeah, she raised us. I mean, my mom raised us too. You know, she did her best, but she was a workie. You know, she worked at a Caro's restaurant for years, just raising 4 kids and you know, doing her best.
You have Jesse is one
Yeah.
he's black belt as well, right? Just Jacques, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a sister. Two sisters.
I have 2 sisters.
Two
So Karen's
sisters.
older sister, she lives in Pasadena, and then I have a little sister that lives in Rio Rancho, and she's got her family. Jesse
Who did-
Hawkes. He gets so mad if I didn't say Hawkes.
Hawkes. Okay. The younger sister did jiu-jitsu for a minute.
She did. Yeah, she did. So she did. And actually, she's the reason why my brother started training. Kind of, it's so funny. So my sister started training, and I think she hurt her ankle or something, and so she like stepped off. But she had paid for like a year or something.
Oh, okay.
And you, I think at the time, like let my brother take it over. Yeah. So that's how my brother got started, because my sister hurt herself.
I remember him telling me something like you armbarred him or something.
I did?
Something like
I
that.
used to beat him all the time.
Yeah. And then he just like, he's like, man, this can't happen. I was like, I gotta
How is
learn this stuff.
happening? Yeah.
Because you were strong.
Seriously.
You would always surprise. I mean, it was Fight Club days, right? You had to train with all the guys, like
All the guys. Nothing
gnarly
but guys.
dudes. Yeah. Nobody, you know, we protected, right? But there was, you know, we trained hard, right? in
Yeah.
those
Oh,
days.
sure. Yeah, and it was, and I kind of preferred that because I knew, like, yeah, the guys would never, you know, beat me up. Like, they would definitely respect me or whatever, but they would go hard, and I just really liked that, because for me, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I saw the first UFC, or maybe it was the second one. It was actually that picture right there where he's armbarring him.
Hoist Gracie, yeah.
Yes, and he's armbarring, I forget the guy's name.
DeLuca or something.
DeLuca, yeah. And so that image was burnt in my mind at a young age, and I thought, wow, that is a perfect situation where I could be like assaulted in, right? Like a rape position or something. I was like, how is he beating him? I mean, like many people have started from seeing the early UFCs, but I was like, I want to learn how to do that, because I need to defend myself. You know, there's no one going to come and save me. I have to defend myself. And I was a tomboy growing up too, hanging out with my brother and his friends. But yeah, I was like, once I kind of started, I found your school. I think you were a brown belt at the time.
Right,
actually.
yeah. When I moved back from Brazil.
Yeah, and I just, I was there all the time. I was there every day. And then...
end of 2000, right? End of 99, 2000.
Yeah, all I remember is 99.
Arlen had a little group because I started like a little group, and then they kept kind of training in his garage.
Yeah, so I missed the garage days, but I started like right after that, and I think you were kind of renting out that place like for the summer or something. Yeah. Yeah, and the rest is history. And I just, there's been ups and downs since then, but like, thank goodness I still have my health and I still get to train. And
that's it.
Yeah.
You, there's a picture. I don't know if you saw it downstairs.
I didn't.
Yeah, it was from like, I think 2000 or 2001 when Draculino came down.
Okay.
And it's you're in it.
Oh.
Okay. So, all the original people. And out of the group, it kind of trips me out because how many black belts are in that picture? It's almost the whole group. And like all these like guys went to the UFC. Like I think like four of the guys went to the UFC. 4 or 5 guys, I think, actually. It's a trip, It's like it's a tiny little spot, right, that we trained in on Sirius Road.
Yep.
Tiny little school. It was like 1,500 square feet.
Created champions.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I did a little MMA too, and I think you were the reason for that. I think a lot of people started doing MMA because they saw you doing it, and I did that for the first. Well, I did the Japan fight, and then I did the King of the Cage, and then we were doing the Albuquerque school. I was teaching there a lot, and you were teaching there. And then when I moved to Northern California, I did 2 more fights there, but it wasn't. It's weird.
Yeah, because you helped me open up. We opened up the second school in Albuquerque, right, back in the day.
Which I always remind. I'm like, yeah, we opened up that school. Thanks.
And you're my, yeah, yeah. How many people did we sign up that are black belts now, right?
A lot, tons.
Right, and we were there, exploded. Like, yeah.
We literally grouted, like knocked down the walls, grouted the place, tiled the place. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, so fun. I'm like,
we got it. We did an ad on the first Ultimate Fighter. Like a 30-second spot. Do you remember that? 30 days free. And like we just blew it out of the water. Me and you.
About that. That's right. Yeah, we did it though.
Yeah.
We made it happen, and it, it's like.
And those are still like fight club days. It was still like underground, but because I had fought there in the city, and people knew who I was, and we had such already a big network, and people were driving up from Albuquerque, which was 1 hour away, right? Up north to train with me in Santa Fe. It made sense, right? Because Albuquerque was the big city, had like how many, like 500,000 people?
Yeah, something like that. Probably a little more now, but
And back in Santa Fe has like what, 60,000 people? Something like that.
There was no just jiu-jitsu schools there at the time, right? I don't think so. I mean, there was like Jackson's, but they didn't do the gi or anything. And it was like, you're like, it's got to happen here for sure.
Yeah. So it made sense.
I remember you called me and I was at work. You're like, quit your job right now, whatever you're doing. Come teach me. I was like, all right, let's do it.
We did it.
Yeah, this is it, man. Just wild west, but so fun, and I liked it that way.
We did it, right? We did it. We did like important work, right? We helped people.
No,
a lot of people.
Yeah, it's true.
And when you help people, you help yourself too, right? You feel good.
Oh yeah. I like people still like Tammy Grego, another black belt. She came up to me actually when you were in town last, was just like, it's because of you that I stayed doing jiu-jitsu, because she saw another female there, that was like, I think I must have been a purple belt or brown belt at the time when I started teaching her, and it was just like, now she's this amazing.
In Albuquerque, yeah. Yeah, and then when I moved from New Mexico to LA, you moved to Oakland, right, for a bit?
I moved to Oakland, California for a while, for about, I want to say 6-7 years, and kept training there. Trained, it was this guy, Eduardo Rocha, so it was like old school Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. Maita, And then I went and started, so I was teaching a women's class there, but it didn't really take off. And then I was working in Berkeley at this record store. Right across the street, inside a parking garage underneath, Jake Shields opened up a gym there. So I started training with those guys, and Nick and Nate Diaz would come and train, and Gil Melendez, so all the scrap pack guys. So they'd come and train. I'm like, I'm training with Nick Diaz right now. How crazy is this? But, that was a lot of fun too, but it was all no-gi. Yeah. So we tried to start the gi a few times, but, they were mostly MMA fighters, and we'd go to San Francisco and train at Gil Melendez's gym, and that was fun. So I got a lot. I feel like my no-gi got really good at that time, and I was doing a lot of tournaments then. and then I actually trained at Cesar Gracie's for a little bit too. So that was fun. But yeah, it was, even though I left and I kind of hopped around over there, it was just like your gym was always like the one in Santa Fe and the one in Albuquerque was just my home. And I was always kind of like searching for that when I went out there. And I'd get a little bit of that here and there because you always are going to make friends, but it wasn't like it was when I first started. And so now fast forward,
like your family, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Family,
And always will always be, forever. But now, 23 years later, I actually found a gym in Albuquerque that's very similar. And I love it for that. It's Invictus. And
Nice.
yeah, it's got that same old school vibe. There's no politics. You come in, you train, you have fun, you help each other. It's great. So I'm like, okay, I found a place where, I feel comfortable. I don't feel like it's just the politics, it gets so crazy sometimes. So yeah, pretty stoked to have found that place.
Nice. When you were in Oakland, you started a thing called Sweaty, or you were part of
Sweaty Betties,
yeah, because there weren't that many women still training back in like, when was it, 2007-ish, right? It was like, considering like now, it's like so many females competing and training, right?
Yeah, training, competing, and making it their job. Their job to tour basically and do seminars and teach and do tournaments. Like, it's amazing. We started the Sweaty Betties at Eduardo Hocha's gym. And again, it was really small, but these women came in and kind of bumped it up. Actually, it was that kind of after I went to Jake Shields, but they would come around. So we'd kind of like, have our little Sweaty Betty sessions like once every few weeks at different schools. And we would go like to Tahoe and we would just meet other people at other schools and train that way too. Train in San Francisco a lot. So now and all those girls who started are all black belts now too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So some of my students who started with me there have their black belts now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you moved back to Albuquerque.
Moved back to Albuquerque. Well, I moved back to Santa Fe, and then I quickly realized I was like, it's too small. I need to move back to Albuquerque. So I moved back there, and yeah, I've been there ever since. So the last 10 years.
And you've always been into like death metal,
Yes.
like you want to talk about it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a band from the Bay Area, Dystopia. Shout out. But yeah, no, so I've always I love the music scene. I've loved getting in the mosh pits and metal. Like, I started off as listening to punk rock. My older sister got me really into punk rock. And we'd go to shows and all her friends were in the bands and we would just get wild and party and probably got a drink and did a little things I wasn't supposed to at a really young age, but did all that. And yeah, I still just love the music. I still go to shows. It was so funny because the other day we were at this band Sepultura from Brazil. The two brothers kind of broke off and started a new band. So I went to the show and there was two brown belts and another purple belt there from my school. They're all rocking out together. It was awesome. So it's just fun. Like, it's kind of similar to jiu-jitsu where it's a community of people. You're listening to this heavy music just to kind of it's good for your mental health. I love it. Always will. Right? Agreed. Yeah.
When I message you for us to do a podcast, you're like, yeah, I get to talk about addictions and things like that, and it's something you've dealt with. You were just kind of saying since you were pretty young, right?
Yes. So yeah, and what's crazy is that I kind of only started really delving deep into I've done therapy on and off here and there, and I actually work in mental health now.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I work with a lot of people that have addiction. I work with people that have schizophrenia, bipolar, things like that. So it's intense, but we make sure they're medicated if they want to be medicated, but it's like an outreach program and it's volunteer. So we just help them with what they need. But the reason, the way I got into this work is when I was young, I was experimenting with drugs and alcohol at a really young age. And, you think it's kind of normal, to smoke a little weed and drink a little when you're young. But I was already doing coke when I was 11 or 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, it's normal. Everyone does it, but I was always hanging out with the older kids. And, that kind of led to other things, but later in life. And so I kind of realized I've always had that addictive personality to where I can't just it's not that I can't do one drug and then all of a sudden that spirals me out, but I felt like I was always like reaching for something outside of me to like make myself feel okay. Like I felt like I need this like external thing to give me comfort in myself. And so I started really working with like meditation and therapy and just realizing that no, like I can be okay with myself, not have to like reach for something to kind of numb whatever pain I'm going through. And I think it was a lot of my like chaotic upbringing too, like my stepdad and all that stuff. But so years later, I had a bad knee injury. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that.
So
Yeah,
I injured my knee.
Tore your ACL.
I tore my, well, I don't
Doing that the basic self-defense with the bear hug.
It was a bear hug escape.
Right, you picked the person up and he was like, whatever, 300 pounds.
Should not have picked him up. Yeah. So it tore everything. Yeah. I was like showing off, like, yeah. But after that is when, and I had always like painkillers, right? So it started there. And I know this is so many people's story.
Yeah.
But taking painkillers and then taking painkillers and drinking with the painkillers and then taking more and that not being enough. And so this is when I was living in Oakland. So I hurt my knee. I hurt my knee here when I was in Albuquerque. And then I moved and I re-injured it doing Muay Thai. So I got kicked in my leg and it just tore my knee. Like my left leg was the post and, made it worse. So I just felt like, anytime you get injured, it's depressing. Like you just get bummed out, especially when you're an athlete and you're trying to fight and do these things and everything just stops. And I didn't deal with it the healthiest way back then at all. And so I was just taking pills. And then all of a sudden I was actually in California coaching one of my students. And I didn't have any painkillers. I really didn't realize that I had an addiction at the time. I was like, oh, I just take them for pain. It's fine. But I was buying them off the street. I was totally not getting them from a doctor at this point. And I go to California, didn't have any pills. And all of a sudden I get sick. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I have a fever. What's going on? And I don't know. I just didn't really realize it. I was just very naive. And 3 days, I just felt awful. I was supposed to go to Disneyland with my sister and her kids because they were there too. And just stayed in the hotel room. Like just throwing up, shaking, cold sweats, just awful. Like the worst flu you could have, but your nerves are like on fire. And then I get back and I knew, like in the back of my head, I was like, oh, I don't have any pills. Like, what is this? I go to the hospital because I'm just not getting better. And I was like, yeah, I just don't feel good. Like I hurt my knee really bad. I just felt awful. And they gave me like one Vicodin or something, and I took it, all the symptoms went away. And that's when I was like, oh shit, I'm addicted to painkillers. And you would think right then I would have gone and got help because I was like, all the pain went away, all the like anxiety, all the sickness I'd been dealing with the last 3-4 days was gone because I took that one pill the doctor gave me. So I leave the hospital and and I'm hanging out with probably not the best people at that time. And the addiction just got worse. All of a sudden, it was around the time when the doctors started cutting people off pain meds. There's a really good documentary if anyone wants to know more about this time. It's called The Pharmacist.
The Pharmacist.
Yes. So he started, I can't remember what platform it's on. He started noticing there was all these pill mills and there was these places where doctors were just writing scripts for painkillers, getting paid cash. And so you have all these people just addicted to painkillers, not being regulated, just out of control. So they realized I was getting out of hand. Well, instead of getting people help or weaning them off, they just cut people off. So you couldn't find painkillers anywhere. So what do you do when you don't have painkillers? You switch to heroin.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I did. And at the time I was living in Oakland, it was easily accessible. It was cheap. You go down to the park and yeah, I started snorting it, and then I started injecting it, and yeah, I just went downhill. But what was crazy is I was still training. Like I was still training the whole time. And for me, with addiction, there's a lot of guilt and there's a lot of shame and there's a lot of because heroin's like the worst drug you could do, right? It's like,
and there was nobody like your family or anybody to watch out for you, right?
No,
just checking on you.
No, because I was in Oakland, so they didn't
or
really
me.
know, right? Yeah. Oh my god.
What's going on?
Oh,
what the?
Yeah. No, I was just I was just out there in Oakland, but I was still training. But then of course that became a lot less, and I was just kind of like sitting at home a lot more, isolating myself completely, just getting high. And pretty soon you're kind of just doing enough to stay not sick. you know, and then I got on methadone to kind
Wow.
of help on the day. So it got really bad. And the thing that I struggled with the most is not only am I feeling guilt and shame for being this addict, but I was already like pretty far along in my jiu-jitsu life. Like I was already a higher level belt, you know, like I was already a brown belt at that time. And I was like, you know, you hear these stories about people becoming addicted before and then they find martial arts and they, you know, have all these success stories. But for me, it was like, oh, I was kind of always on this path. It's like I had these two separate lives. Like I had my athletic life and that kind of kept me, I think I really believe that kept me, I guess, just
On the right path. Like
Yeah.
at least good enough to
right. Exactly. I think
maintaining a healthy
Yeah.
enough, right?
yeah, I think I would have fallen off way harder if I wouldn't have had that, because I would always go back to that. And if I was,
Because you were pretty young when you started training jiu-jitsu with me, right?
yeah, I was 19,
19, yeah.
and I'm 45 now. So, but yeah, it was just like dealing with that. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be like this, you know, higher level jiu-jitsu athlete and people know me as this, but I had this like separate secret life almost that no one really saw. And it got really hard. And, you know, luckily, thank goodness, I moved back to New Mexico. I was still addicted, but I ended up getting help from, so I was going to the methadone clinic in Santa Fe, and then I moved to Albuquerque, was doing methadone. So methadone is like, it's legal, they have methadone clinics, but it's kind of acts like heroin almost. So people, there's like this stigma about it too, where it's like if you're on methadone, you're still kind of using in a way because you're not sober, but it keeps you from using heroin. But, you know, I was still doing both. So finally, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I slowly weaned myself off methadone. I got off heroin, thank goodness, before fentanyl became huge. Like I kind of got off before fentanyl became like this huge epidemic that it is now, because it's fentanyl's everywhere now. You don't even find heroin in the streets. It's all fentanyl, and it's way more addictive, way cheaper, way easier to get. So in that time that I was weaning myself off methadone, I took a break from work. I was just working at this grocery store or whatever, and one of the black belts from Gracie Baja, David Lay, I don't know if you know him. He's missing an arm.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. So he is he runs this program called New Mexico Solutions, and I guess he had heard my story because I think I did like an interview with the Sweaty Betties about it, and I was taking a break from work, and he's like, you know, you'd be a great peer support worker, and I was like, what is that, like peer support worker? And at my methadone clinic, there was peer support workers, and they were like off the stuff. They'd got off everything. I was like, oh my God, how did you guys do it? Like, I need to know what you guys did. And they helped me through it all. Like, they helped me, told me what to go on my dose down, because it's really hard to get off methadone. Like, they call them liquid handcuffs because you can kind of stay on it for life. Like, I know people that'll probably be on it for the rest of their lives, because you start tapering off, it has a half-life, so you're still like, it's just lasts in your body a lot longer than heroin does. And so I finally was able to taper off successfully, and then start my job at New Mexico Solutions as a peer support worker. And so I was like, okay, this is kind of my calling now, because I know this struggle of addiction and shame and guilt, and not really having people that you could lean on for support because you are, you know, ashamed. And so now I kind of just try to talk about, you know, breaking the stigma of it. Like, yes, I can say without being fully embarrassed that I was a heroin addict, you know, for 6 years of my life. And, you know, maybe it's not as long as some, but it was, for me, it was kind of like the culmination of everything I did in my past, from all the, like, you know, experimenting with drugs. I wanted to get high. I wanted to numb all the scary feelings in my heart. And, you know, just leading up to this, like, okay, I'm totally, completely numbing myself with heroin. And that's not who I am. Like, I don't want to be this person. I think if it wasn't for martial arts, I don't know if I would have got out of it, because I knew who I was before that. I knew that I was a strong, powerful woman who could be successful at something. You know, I wasn't this, and I'm not saying like if you're an addict, you're like a piece of shit person by any means at all. People struggle, but it's like I knew I could get through it, you know, and I did. And I'm very grateful for all the people I had that supported me at that time. There wasn't many, but there was a few. But yeah, and now I try to help people. I get people to rehabs if they're ready to go. And I always tell people, like, I talk to families of addicts, and they're like, we want them to go. I'm like, I know you do, but they have to be ready. Like, you're never going to be ready. My family, once I told my mom, they threw me into rehab. It didn't work. It didn't work. I got out, got high that day. So it's like the person needs to be ready. Just, you know, you can't force anyone to do anything, but hopefully, you know, just with fentanyl being such a big problem these days, like it's really deadly. I carry Narcan around everywhere I go because you see people in Albuquerque all the time just passed out on the street and using it so much that and you see like 20-year-olds, you know, just completely addicted. So, you know, I work on an ACT team. It's assertive outreach, and we just try to help people. And it's not all with heroin addiction. I mean, we help people with severe mental illness, and we help, you know, we bring food boxes to people. But yeah, I love it. I love like being a helper. I love that I can help people because I needed the help. And now I'm just trying to give back what I took from people and what I took from myself, really. So It's been a journey for sure.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just I couldn't help think about Breaking Bad TV show out of all the places, right? They choose New Mexico.
And that's the thing, like meth there too. It's either meth or fentanyl. Meth or fentanyl. Those are the big ones, meth and fentanyl.
And then like Espanola, right? The amount of heroin and stuff that they have there, northern New Mexico.
Yeah, like what's the place before Espanola? It's like the heroin
Chimayo.
capital. Yes.
Chimayo.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot to be said with, you know, our New Mexico is the second poorest state in the country. And so there's struggle. You know, there's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of poverty, and you see it firsthand because I don't know if you know where the war zone is. So they call it like the International District in Albuquerque.
Oh, wow.
So I have clients there. I have clients in 3 different counties, but, you know, there's very rural areas of New Mexico where they just don't have the funding, they don't have the help, and so we go out there. But in the wars on the International District, there's just so much poverty. There's not a lot of help.
Is that like the South Valley?
It's more like central area, like up, like, you know, where all like this like Louisiana, like where all the state names are.
Okay,
basically,
gotcha.
yeah, like that area there. And so South Valley is rough too. I mean, Albuquerque's just rough, and it's gotten worse. I mean, I know it's gotten worse everywhere with like homeless populations and stuff, but they're just, I don't know. I don't really know what the answer is, but whatever we're doing now isn't working.
Like you were, how did you said, you know, like you mentioned it, but how did jiu-jitsu, like you said, you're already good at something. You believed in yourself because of jiu-jitsu and martial arts.
Yeah, I like I said, I think if I didn't have that background, I probably would have OD'd. I came close. I OD'd twice, but came out of it. But I don't think I would have had as much like confidence or belief in myself, and would have just thought, I was like, oh, I guess this is my life now. But because I knew better, I knew that.
And you're better than that. You know, you're better than that.
Yeah, I just knew, like, I didn't want to go down that road because, you know, it's just the people you're surrounded by. It's not pretty. It's not a pretty life. There's a reason why you do it in private, you know. And that's the thing too. It's like alcohol is really bad too. I've seen people, you know, start hallucinating from coming down from alcohol. Like that's more social, right? Like food, anything can be an addiction, but it's like heroin was really dark, and it takes people down so fast. And it's like, I think I just kind of held on to that. Like I put an Instagram post where it's like, man, when I'm doing anything challenging and hard and I'm trying to push through it, I stop, I take a breath, and I remember who the fuck I am and what the fuck I've been through. And I get through anything, you know, like no one's going to hurt me more than what I've done, how I've hurt myself, you know? So it's like, now I'm on this kind of like, you know, I do jiu-jitsu for my mental health for sure. I would like to compete again for sure. I haven't competed in so long and I miss it. I would like to have that challenge for sure. But for the most part, I just want to, you know, I'm 45. I want to start aging gracefully. You know, I want to be able to.
They have master divisions, right?
Yeah,
they have the master
do.
worlds.
They
you know,
do
you
now.
talked about the Grapples Quest back in Vegas. Man, like we made it because it's at the main convention center in Las Vegas. You know, it was like a high school gym or you know, whatever, something like that, right? At the time, you know, and that was like we were excited. The tap out guys were there selling T-shirts out of their trucks, right, out of their cars. And now it's the main convention center in Vegas. You know.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
amazing, you know,
Yeah.
amazing. And it's cool because there's so many ages now that you never stop. You should never stop. It's a lifestyle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think part of that is like the social aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Staying friends, like staying connected to others. And we're all doing good things for our bodies and our minds, right? And
Yeah.
our health.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's one thing where that's when I was first started using. I still tried. I tried to have my like foot in the door, but then I was like no. And then once I kind of like fought my way back, I'm like it was there for me, right? And I always kind of said that like jiu-jitsu will always be there for me, but I have to be there for it too. I have to be there for me. I have to show up. I have to go. I can't make these excuses of like, oh, I'm too tired. I'm too tired. I don't feel good. Take a bit. Like I was telling the girls last night in Pasadena.
Yeah.
It's like, just go. Like, you have an injury or whatever, just go watch.
Show up, yeah.
Yeah, be in the community. Talk, go
That's
out.
that's
go
a
out
real
to eat.
black belt talking right there.
Yeah, it's true, though. It makes a world of difference. You can stay home and watch Netflix, or you can go out and, like, be a part of your community.
Put your gi on,
Yeah.
like, suit up, and just show up, be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do, you can do.
Right, exactly.
But it's better than being at home and doing
Yeah.
nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Isolated. I mean, take breaks when you need to, of course. Like, don't push yourself beyond your limit, of course, because I've done that. But show up any way you can. Show up. And I remember, and I kind of, remember you saying that you got really good with like your omoplatas and your leg stuff because you had an injured arm, right? And I always remember that. I think actually when I tore my rotator cuff, I was like, you pushed it that this way, and it's like if this doesn't work, you got your legs. If something doesn't work, there's always a way. You always find a way, and that's with life, right? You find a way to make it because life's too short.
That's it. There's always a way, right?
Yeah,
there's always a
way.
solution.
Yep, there really is, and I just want those people who kind of are in those dark spaces who don't see that. Just know, like, there's light. There really is. There's community. There's people that will support you, but you have to find it. You have to care about yourself and love yourself enough to be able to find those people, to be able to kind of, nurture you. Because a lot of times it's not our families, Sometimes it is, and that's awesome. But sometimes we create these families outside of our blood, And I'm just so grateful. I mean, forever, like you're my professor forever. And I think of you as like my main mentor. I don't know if I've ever told you that. You're my mentor.
Making me blush.
But it's true. Seriously, like I just have never, because I didn't have a great dad. I didn't have like a father figure in my life. I didn't have like, even my mom, like I love her, bless her soul. But she was raising kids. She was stressed out. She was working, just survival mode, right? So I was always taught how to survive, not how to thrive in life. And you were just always like, you just always found a way to get shit done, and I really respect that about you.
Yeah. That's cool. I'm just so proud that I was young, I was like, I was 23 when I started the gym. That's crazy, right?
23. So I must have been, dang, so maybe I started, okay, so you were 23, so I was 21, because you're 47?
47.
Yeah. So I was 21. Yeah, I was young. We were both. But it's so awesome. It was like perfect. I don't know. It was just such a perfect time. Like I knew what jiu-jitsu was from UFC.
It was interesting how we connected, right? We all of us connected, and then everybody just showed up. They just showed up at every class. Everybody was there all day, every day. And if you weren't, like, where were you?
Right, but
and then we went to the tournaments. We went to all the tournaments.
Yeah.
Road trips right everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And it was at a time where it's like I wasn't thinking about, maybe you were at the time, but I wasn't thinking about these big tournaments or I have to get ready for this. I just wanted to show up every day because I enjoyed it, because I liked it made me feel good. I felt like all my problems went away. Everything that I was dealing with at home or any, like, whether going through relationships or whatever, like, all that shit didn't even matter. You train, you have a good time, you're in a safe environment, and you're like, dang, man, this is easy. Life is easy.
It's good for you, right? Hopefully you compensate some of the tactic stuff that I've been doing, right?
Oh,
compensate it, balance your body out, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it's good for you, right? You're doing stuff that's good for your mind, your body, your spirit, right?
It's all, everything about it is nothing but positive. And like, you're never going to feel worse after a jiu-jitsu class or after a workout. You're never going to feel crappy. After you do drugs, you're going to feel crappy. You're going to feel crappy, After you eat like bad food, you're going to feel crappy. But yeah, jiu-jitsu is just, And that's like where the magic is for me, is that it was always there. No matter all the crap I did in my life, all the way I abused my body, it's there. It's, you know, and it's just so big now. There's so many places to train. There's so many different things for everybody, right?
UFC being on, you know, on the major networks, right? Being on ESPN, you're like,
Yeah.
what? It's a
Yeah.
mainstream sport, like what?
Yeah, it's humongous. Like, just women in the UFC, it was a trip for me. I'm just like, dang, it's so, I love it. Because, yeah, it was just like, I'm just fighting guys, I guess, this whole time. There's never going to be a girl that's
Yeah,
going to, I'm
yeah.
going to be able to fight. And now I'm like, these girls downstairs, oh my God, they're so tough. I'm like, yay. Yeah, it's a trip.
You know, I think of you and I think of CJ, and, you know, like just females in jiu-jitsu was always a good place, you know, for females, you know. It was safe, right? It was good. It was a good place, you know.
Yep.
We really treated everybody fair. Nobody was like, we trained hard, right? But everybody's like, we took care of each other too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and
And
never.
it's like a family, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I always felt like I was in a room with a bunch of big brothers. I never felt like, you know, like I didn't belong, or like it was too tough for me, or like that macho attitude. I never felt that training with it. There's schools where I have felt that at for sure, but I never felt that with your gyms back in the day. It was just all love, all support. You know, people wanted me to do good, and I don't know if it's because I was a girl and they're just like, she's doing what guys are doing. But, you know, I think there was really nothing else. Just growing up as a tomboy, I don't think there's anything else that could have compared to what I started doing, just because it's very male dominated sport. I mean, nowadays it's not, there's a lot more women that do it, but it is very aggressive. You know, it's very like, it's something that, like, I don't know, I guess, I don't even want to say girly girl, because girly girls train now too, but it's just something like, it's like it really is for everyone. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's awesome for those girls too, like smaller women to do. It's just like, yes, please, like, you know, learn how to protect yourself. Yeah, learn how to move your body and how to shift your weight and how to choke someone out. Like, you can do it too. You know, don't make yourself a victim.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Not just like that kind of a situation, but just your mindset and for everything in life, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean,
like I can, like being in bad positions, staying calm and finding the solution.
Yes.
By staying calm, right?
Yeah.
Not overreacting.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's so mental. It's such a mental. You just get that clarity where, you know, because I mean, you know, we know this when we go out to a club or whatever. We're not gonna start fights. You know, we're not gonna. Let's just like, no.
You don't have anything to prove.
You don't have anything to prove. You can kind of deal with hectic situations a lot easier. You're not going to react to things that a lot of people will react to, because you've already kind of faced all those things when you train every day. You know, getting smothered. You know, getting smothered by a 200-pound guy. Yeah, I can handle this situation, no problem. Yeah.
You had mentioned about, you know, like people have to be ready. They have to be ready to, you know, if they wanna get help, they wanna, you know, you got sent to rehab, it didn't work. They have to be ready for the situations, right? Like that, or they have to be ready to want to be helped or get better, right? How would jiu-jitsu help? How would jiu-jitsu help somebody trying to get better?
Struggling with addiction?
How would that play in? What's the perfect, you know, from you? I mean, you have a different background because you're already pretty much a black belt by the time you went, you fell off, right? But
I mean, I think just moving your body almost. I know it sounds like simple, but just getting that, like, getting comfortable with your body and knowing your body and really like it kind of just makes you respect your body a lot more and what you put into your body. So it's like, you know, you could sit there and do whatever to it, but I think getting into any kind of where you're moving your body, like the tack fit, martial arts, yoga, anything to where you're sweating and you're moving and you can feel your body working. I think just that alone shifts your mentality a little bit, because you're abusing your body when you're using drugs. Like, you're abusing it. You're not taking care of it. And
disconnecting it.
Yeah, exactly. You're so disconnected. And then when you start moving, you start really getting connected to your body and your lungs and your heart beating and you're sweating. You really start to think, oh God, like, you know, after a good training, I want to eat good. I want to drink protein. I don't want to eat crappy food. So I think with that, like and that's why I work with a lot of clients. Like, we'll do boxing sometimes. We don't, I haven't incorporated jiu-jitsu yet, but I want to. So before I got into this field that I'm doing now, I was in a program called From Addicts to Athletes.
Interesting.
And it was really cool, and I still really want to start getting more involved in this type of work is body movement. You know, it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu, you know, because some people are really uncomfortable with being up close.
And so you got to get TACFIT certified. You got to get into this.
I know. We need to really talk about that more, for sure, because there's not a lot of places in New Mexico, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But just it's knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And especially with, you know, all the things you're doing now.
Yeah, I do.
And then your background in jiu-jitsu as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I would love to. I'm actually going to, I was talking to Monica downstairs.
You should stay another weekend.
I know. I wish I could. This week, though, I'll be here all
Okay.
week. Yeah, I think it's just, it's that body movement. It's being aware. Because, you know, even like I work with clients, we'll box for a little bit, show them like basic jab cross, and they'll be smokers, and they'll start breathing hard, and they'll be like, dang, my lungs, and they'll start cutting back on cigarettes. You know, just that little bit.
You don't have to tell them. They'll just want to do it.
Yeah, because
instinctually,
they feel it.
yeah.
Right, exactly. So it's just that, it's
You want to feel better when you train. You want to feel better.
Yeah, it's just that body awareness. Like you have so much more body awareness when you're moving it, when you're learning these different positions and moving your body in these certain ways that you wouldn't have if you're just kind of sedentary or, you know, just eating crappy food or you know, shooting up or, you know, snorting drugs or whatever like that. I think that's it. Just getting involved, doing it. I mean, it takes a lot. I mean, it took a lot for me. So when I started getting off heroin and off methadone, I would go to a park because I didn't feel like I had no place to train. I was really ashamed still. I was in this kind of like shame spiral. So I would go to a park and I would put like a yoga mat out and I would start doing like drills. Like I would sit up like a sit-up sweep, or I'd do like good posture stance and stuff like that. Like just move so that because my brain remembered. And it was so hard to do, but I was like, no, like I need to kind of do this and feel my body start working again because it was shut off for so long. And doing that really helped me get back in because I was drilling by myself. But it really helped me to be like, okay, no, now I'm ready. So it just took that time to be able to build that confidence up a little bit to be able to kind of finally go back to the gym and start training again. But whew, it was rough. But I think that's it, you know, doing a little bit of movement with your body, getting into like the body awareness, the mobility, the stretching, all that is going to really kind of shift your focus from like, tired of abusing my body, I want to feel good.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Switching up back in the day, what are some names you remember back in, you know, 2000, 2001? Because those are like early days, right? Of tournaments and Grappler's Quests. And
what are some names? Like big names?
Just
like
people, just people that you remember, like, you know, just names of matches maybe that you remember.
Oh, gosh.
Because Jeff Glover wasn't even, you know, he's probably just beginning, right? He was like a blue belt.
Well, I remember Ghazi Parman.
Did you ever compete against her?
I did, yeah. She triangled me. I was so mad about it. So the first time we fought, I think it was like, was it a draw? It was, she had her
She beat
leg.
Leica Vieira, right?
Yes, I remember Leica, yeah. I never got to fight her, but I wanted to beat Ghazi so bad because I don't know, But we had our first match. It was Grappler's Quest, and her leg was all tangled up, and I think I popped her hip out on accident. Well, she did it, but she was like, yeah, I couldn't walk for like a week, but it was a really close match. And then I fought her again, and she triangled me right away. I was like, damn it. But what was the other girl? Erica Garcia?
I remember, yeah. She was the blue belt the same year as CJ, right?
Yeah.
But CJ won it before her the same tournament, the Worlds.
She did MMA too.
I think so.
Yeah. So those girls, but I don't know, like, yeah, there's so many.
What about guy matches?
Guy matches?
Going down memory lane. Remember Jeff Monson?
I remember Jeff, the Beast. Yeah.
80 multiple time ADCC champion, right?
Yeah, he was a beast. Oh, yeah, he was fun to watch. Yeah, I don't know, like, drawing a blank.
What about Brazilian friends of mine coming through?
Oh my God, those guys. Oh, well, okay. You have to remind me. I remember Gordo. I met him.
Okay. Draculino, of course, the first.
Draculino, of course, and he's also a metalhead. So we would always bond. He's been on stage with the Cro-Mags.
Okay.
Yeah, there he is right there in all his glory. Love him forever. Okay, there was one guy that you brought that actually was like waiting tables at Tomasita's. And I only remember this because him and my grandma had a conversation in Spanish. It was so
Valich?
cute. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. What happened with him?
He's like some executive at a big international company now.
Was he trained still?
He here and there.
What was that big guy's name? He was so funny. He was like real big, kind of like.
But he came to Santa Fe to just snowboard, right? Be like a ski bum.
Yeah. It was fun.
I remember he ate McDonald's for like, he's like, cause it was like 99 cents or 39 cents or something like that. He's like, I'm going to eat McDonald's. Cause in Brazil, McDonald's was like, it's like better quality, I think, right?
Oh, wow.
And so they came, 29 cents hamburger, 39 cents. So he's like, I'm going to eat it every meal.
Oof.
He's like, man, it took me like 5 years to get rid of that weight. Because he gained all that weight, right? Like Draculino, I remember came and he's like, man, his pants are like ballerina pants, right? Because his legs get all big.
Oh my God.
But I don't know if you remember him. He had a match with Jeff Monson. The guy was so talented.
Yeah.
And, Jeff Monson was already an ADCC champion, a current one. Mm-hmm. And then Valich was like, I'm going to put him on his back. And then sure enough, he shot in and he flipped it and did like a omoplata, like a kind of a crucifix kind of thing, and put Jeff Monson on his back. Wow. I was like, oh my God. Nobody put Jeff Monson on his back. No. And then he's like, I'm going to take him down again. And then Jeff Monson tied it up and then ended up winning the match. But, just the fact that, and he was gambling. Remember that? He was, do you remember some Valich stories?
Kind of.
Oh
Not.
my God,
No.
No, it was that night before. He was like, man, because he had this like gambling thing and he was playing roulette. He's like, I have a system. And he's like sweating already, and we're like, man, we gotta go home. We gotta, go to the hotel, like, rest, right? The tournament's tomorrow. And he's like, no, I'm good. I'll be there in 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. And then he came back like 5 a.m, right, the next morning, because he was already sweating, at that time, And he's like, oh man, I was doing good, and this Chinese guy came in and messed up my system, And I guess he had borrowed like all this money from like Tate's friend with the big guy, Scotty, I think his name was Scotty.
Oh my God.
Anyway, he borrowed all this money, stayed out till like 5 a.m, came back. And then he's like, man, he started doing like whatever odd jobs, like security things, different things. And then on his way to the airport, Tomas, remember Tomas? Yeah. Big Tomas?
Yeah.
And so Tomas was taking him to the airport. He's like, Tomas, so he kind of like made some money, right? He's like, stop at the casino, like one of those, small Indian casinos, right? I think the one on the Felipe, whatever it's called now. San
Felipe.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he stopped in, and then he's like, let's go to the roulette table, and then they spin it, and he whips out like, I don't know. I mean, we're like kids, right? We're young, and like he whips out like, I don't know what it was, something crazy like AGs or whatever it was, Boom. Bets it on black, and the thing's like, Tomas is like, what? What? And he starts spinning. Red, black. Black hits black.
Dang.
And he makes the money, and he's like,
yep.
And he goes back to Brazil.
No way.
You never knew about that story?
Gangster.
You never knew about that story? Oh my God.
I remember the first fight. I didn't know he left like that.
Yeah, like he just whips out like a wad of cash, like, hundreds, boom.
Damn.
He's like, let's go up to this roulette table. And Tomas is, you sure? He's like, really? Okay. They go, one hand, boom. Going back to Brazil on top.
What a G. Where's he at now? You said
like I said, he's some executive, has a family. He's doing good. Doing good. He was training, but he moved to another city outside of Belo Horizonte, where he grew a lot. Maybe he's just outside of the city, like a little bit outside, I think. Yeah. The last thing I heard.
Yeah, I think about some of those guys.
And remember Alexandre?
Yeah, that's who I was talking about. That worked at Tomasita's. That's who.
He worked at Tomasita's?
I think so.
No. He didn't speak English at the time.
Yeah, he spoke Spanish. Did he speak Spanish too and Portuguese?
He spoke Portuguese.
Okay, so there was two. So there was Valich, but there was two
Valich
guys.
spoke good English.
Yeah, and he was the bigger one.
He was the bigger one.
Yeah, so there was two guys. Maybe.
Alexandre didn't speak. He came right when I came back.
Okay.
And he's the reason why I live in LA today.
So maybe that wasn't.
We came to a Hickson Gracie tournament in 2000.
Oh, okay.
And he was bugging me to go out like the night before the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then he didn't speak English, so he needed me.
Yeah.
And we're staying in the Santa Monica, the 3rd Street Promenade area. And he's like, come on, man, come on, just for an hour. He didn't stop all day. You know how I was too serious, you know, all the time. And then he's like, let's go. Come on. So I went, and I met Edith, you know, at one of the places, you know, like,
Cool.
23 years ago.
Oh, wow. That's how you met Edith.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome.
And so I think he's going to be in this week. He's coming
Really?
back. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to see him.
Yeah.
I'd love to see
He
some
like
of
top
those
that
old school guys.
Jacare, Marcel Garcia. He's like, you know, top jiu-jitsu. His jiu-jitsu is still like, I think, one of the best styles of jiu-jitsu.
That's
Like
amazing.
a big fan of his movement and some big submission game off the movement, you know. He never cared about points.
He's kind of small, right?
He's like one weight. I was like a lighter weight. He was a middleweight back in the day.
Okay.
But he's back in his old weight, you know.
Wow.
And he had a crazy thing happen to him. You know, he was like a rock star. He was you know, like a musician, right?
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, so when he went back from here, from New Mexico, from U.S. to Brazil, he got back into he focused 100% on the music.
I
And
remember
growing,
that.
he had a big
Yeah.
band, and they did
Yeah.
really well, like in the state, you know, but never like nationally and internationally.
Okay.
But they had some really big events, performed with some really big, like you know, Black Eyed Peas and Maroon 5, some
wow.
big shows. But yeah, he was living an athletic life, and then like, you know, like going out, you know.
Yeah.
And so it caught up with him, and man, he had like maybe like 4 years ago, he couldn't train jiu-jitsu like full on until he started doing tac fit.
Oh.
And he's like, man, I think I can do jiu-jitsu again. And then he started competing, and then that's when he started coming out here to train,
Wait, why couldn't you do jiu-jitsu?
because his lower back would be like destroyed. He couldn't walk for a week after.
Oh,
He got his black belt, and he
wow.
was like, right on, Jack, thanks. You know, I'm out, you know, but not that he was being
Dang.
disrespectful.
Yeah,
It
no,
was just, he couldn't train because his
Oh.
lower back would bother him, and he couldn't walk for a week after.
Oh, dang.
And so then he started doing all the tac fit stuff. And then he was like, man, I can do this again. You know, he learned about compensation, releasing tension of the body, started learning like biomechanics, like just, you know, deeper technique, right? And then he was able to compete and started competing again.
Wow.
And then a thing happened when he went to Brazil. One of the things, he was training for like a tac fit thing, and you know, he was like still, you know, he was drinking, whatever, just being, you know, he's a badass musician.
Yeah.
He's so talented.
Mhm.
And he's an attorney. I don't know if you knew that. He was an attorney. He's an attorney.
Why does it seem like so many jiu-jitsu guys are attorneys in Brazil?
Yeah. Anyway, he tore his heart.
Ooh.
They had to put him under. They had to put him in a coma, like drain all his blood, put him in for 20 minutes. It was crazy. So he has like a scar from his belly button to his neck. Like maybe a few years before that, like they wouldn't have had the surgery, and he, you know, not only did he survive that, right, but he's like better than what he was when he was like 25, you know,
That's amazing.
because of all the tac fit stuff.
Oh, that's
And
incredible.
he's training jiu-jitsu, he's surfing, he put me on a skateboard too, he's skateboarding, you know, just doing everything, you know.
He's living like a 20-year-old
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
That's so cool.
He's like really great for me to be around because of all he's just always trying stuff and moving his body, doing stuff. And yeah, man, he's such an example, and he knew what to do because of all the tac fit knowledge. He knew what to do, exactly what to do, you know. And then of course it never stops. Like jiu-jitsu never stops. Like knowledge, you keep learning,
Yeah.
learning, and it's just like never ending.
Never ending.
So it's been really cool to see him, you know, man, be his best. You know, he's like, you know, we're not too far off in age, you know, but he's like, man, he's like the same as he was when he was like 25. But no, not the same. He's better.
Better.
He's better.
That's incredible.
That's like the fountain of youth, right? That's like
It
that's
really
that's
is.
like a testimony and a half, you know.
Seriously, because you start aging and things, you know, you hear like, oh, like people kind of just give up, right? Like it seems like a lot of people are just like, oh, I guess that's what
I'm
happens.
old, this, that, but you get old when you
Yeah.
stop moving, and
Yeah.
what you don't use, you
Yep.
lose,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the more you keep those connections,
Mm-hmm.
the better you feel, the better you are.
Yeah, the more energy you have.
The younger you feel, the younger you feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
You feel phenomenal.
Yeah, and people oftentimes will reach for like pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Or like not move, like sit
Right.
around and
Yeah.
just
I
kind
mean,
of.
we're all too much on our phones and computers
my
and
God.
sitting down too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's everybody, right?
What an
the
amazing
lifestyle.
story! That's so inspirational. I love that. So he's gonna be here this week.
Yeah, I'll be here this week. Yeah, I think Wednesday. So we guys.
Ooh, I'm coming Wednesday. I hope he remembers me. It's been so long.
Of course he will. Yeah, of course he will.
Yeah, I would love to see him. That's so cool.
And there's a picture of you. There's a small little picture on the mat in the mat room.
In the picture?
No, you're in it.
Oh, okay. I gotta see that.
Like our original little group.
Oh, I gotta see that.
My little sister's in it too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's family. We're like, no matter how far we go or what we do in life, like we kind of just
met your grandma. I got to spend time with your grandmother. You got to spend time with my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
I have a picture of him when he was young in front of the office there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
All my at one time we had Jessie, Angela, her 2 kids, my brother's 2 kids, all training. We have this family picture of all of us in gis.
That's it.
It's incredible. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It's been quite a journey for sure, and I love it. And like you said, it's never ending. It's forever. I mean, I'm like, and I love that about jiu-jitsu is like all these new techniques and all these young guys, young girls coming up, like developing all these games. You're like, wow, that's amazing. You can move your body like that. Like, I want to do that. Teach me.
Yeah,
it's like I'm always going to be a student. Always, no matter what. I just want to soak up as much information as I can. And then at the same time, help as many people as I can too. Like, that's what life's about, right? Like, we give and take, and that's a journey. And, like, we got to make the best of it. And I want to, I've already done sad. I've already done heartbreak. I've already done humiliation. I've done all these ugly things. And, like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with feeling sad one day. But it's like, I know what's on the other side of that. I know how good life could be too. And now I'm I can honestly say that I'm in a really good place in life right now. And it's because I get to train. Seriously. Like, it's no joke. I'm like, if I got to get, and I don't get as train as much as I used to, but I got to get my few days a week in that I can, just to kind of curb with what I do for a living. Like, if I miss one of those days, I'm like, nope, I got to go this day because I need to really let all that out. I need to let all my, just stress, anger, aggression, laugh, play. It's all playing, have fun, enjoy it. Yep.
That's it. Well, Sarah, you're one of my heroes. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I'm so proud to have been part of, you winning like all these tournaments, like really breaking barriers, right? From the Pan Ams, I just remember the Pans, Jiu-Jitsu Championship.
You coached me through that.
Yeah, but just all the other things too. Just going against the best of the best at the time, right? And us coming from a small town in New Mexico and like really flexing on everybody, representing, right? Yeah. We're like a little crew, and we're just like
hardcore. The New Mexicans, you can't mess around with us.
And still till today, like so many guys, right? And then Greg Jackson's, right? All the Jackson guys ended up, doing what they did. And but anyway, going back to you, like, I'm just so proud of just everything you've done. And I'm so proud that you used those experiences, right, to become better, and you get to help others through that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate you.
Forever appreciate you. Just have the deepest respect and admiration and love for you.
Love you, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. We'll hang out this week.
Yes,
we'll have a good time.
Definitely.